Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you this evening to the program on this channel, Ask About Anything. And today's program is a very special one, which is about our health issues as young adults. So the theme is the most common health problems or issues that young adults face. And today we have wonderful guests with us that we are going to share with us about our health problems as youth. And so before we even kickstart everything, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Ajman Boateng, a medical student from the University for Development Studies, and I'm your host for this evening. And so before we start everything, or before we kickstart, I would like to offer a word of prayer. Let us pray. Our most gracious and everlasting Father, we thank you for the privilege of prayer. We thank you for sustaining our lives. As you're about to delve into this very delicate subject, we ask that Lord, you be with us, you be with all our guests who share with us these common health issues that you face or encounter in our daily lives, that we may be well abreast with what is going on, that we may be able to prevent ourselves from getting into danger. Thank you so much for an answered prayer through Christ our Lord. Amen. Please, my panelists for this very evening. And so, first of all, I'd like to introduce our very own doctor, Dr. Victor Abuga. Please, can you give us a wave, Dr. Victor? Can you give us a wave? Okay, thank you very much. And then I also like to introduce our very own Chaplain Ishmael Yakubu Hakim. Please, can you also give us a wave? Chaplain, can you give us a wave?
I'm here.
Okay, thank you very much. And so today we have our two great panelists, okay, who are going to share with us the most common health issues that as youth we face. We know that WHO actually classify the age between 15 to 24 as youth. We are going to have this discussion with our two great panelists, that is Dr. Victor Abuka and then Chaplain Ishmael Yakubu. And so let's really have this whole issue that I've been wondering or that we have been wondering about throughout the years. Let's kindly sit in our court wherever we are and let's listen attentively to what our doctor and then our chaplain will share with us this very evening. But even before we go deep into this, I would like them to give us their initial comments before we set the ball rolling. So I'll begin with Dr. Abuga.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to do the discussion with you. I know most of us have encountered one way or the other some of these things that we're going to discuss this evening. If it's not you as a person, probably someone close to you. Um, we have injury and violence. Mostly in medicine, we call it trauma, or violence is also mostly abuse. So we're going to look at some of these things and the effects that they have on the person. Some of these things, when some people have injuries, which can lead to long-term defects or disabilities, and it affects them to a large extent. Some also are faced with violence, and it affects their physical and psychological abilities. And when we look at mental health, this is one of the strongest parts of medicine that we are more concerned with, because without your mental health, as we know the definition of health itself, has to do with the complete physical, mental, and then sociological well-being of the individual. So mental health is a very important part of it. So they will look at that one too, and then look at the problems and then the effects that someone with a mental problem can have. Then we look at sexually transmitted infections. We know in people have sex and how that is the issue. And we're dealing into the effects of these sexually transmitted diseases, how to prevent them, and then at the end of the day, we are going to actually be able to understand the effects of these things at the long term. Is it only the infection that you are supposed to be worried about, or there are other things, or there are other sequelae, or other consequences of this disease or these infections? We will look at all those. And then we also look at drugs, alcohol and then other drugs that we know, cigarette. We look at cocaine and all that stuff. Their effects on the person is physical and then mental. And then Pastor will add the biblical aspects too. We will get to understand that these things that we see around, a lot of problem that we have now is mainly due to some of the drugs on the market, some of the chemical substances or dangerous or toxic substances that some of us are taking into our system. The body has been made in such a way that these things are supposed to be taken in certain moderation, and we get this moderation from the food we eat. So as we discuss, we get to understand the effects this have on our body, the long term, short term effect on our interaction with our fellow human beings. Then the last part I think is nutrition and then physical activity. Nutrition, the diet, everyday food that we take in, balanced diet. We look at that too, and then also look at the effects of either you are when we say malnourished, it's either you are taking a lot or you are taking less. We look at all those and then look at the effects and then what we can do. Then physical activity. We know about exercise. What are the importance of exercises? What can we gain from exercises? And is it really necessary to do exercise for the rest of your life? Or you can be, fine without exercises? Or too much exercise? Is there a problem with that? We will look at all those and then we have some questions and then we will answer them as appropriately as we can. And I think at the end of the day, we have learned a lot. Yeah. Thank you very basically this is what I want to say for now. And then wait for the main discussion later. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Chaplain Ishmael, it's your turn.
All right. Thank you so much, my dear listener. This topic is a very wonderful topic, looking at common health issues that are confronted with our youth and adolescents. This the General Conference Youth, the Children's Director, known as Sostens Mfoms, he came up with a proposition, or perhaps let me say, a research he did on the youth in the church. For us, we are seeking to, Dr. Victor and all of us will be seeking to address this problem that is confronted by our youth. We also want to reiterate emphatically that parents and all of us need to also find a way of focusing on our children. Research really indicates that from age 0 to 3 years, the child or the young one is literally formed in terms of character and so many others. By 7 years, then the child is completely shaped. So we really have a lot to do. But beyond this, we have a problem to resolve. We'll be looking at it from the spiritual angle support. I'll be coming from the chaplaincy background, then perhaps a bit of counseling. The focus will be to synchronize that to fit the roles pastors and our chaplains and spiritual care providers really provide to help our youth in circumstances like this. Research also indicates that almost nearly a lot of mental health diseases or mental health issues and other things related to psychological issues most likely are reported to the clergy, let me say pastors. And it is a phenomenon to see that pastors and people who are not well trained quickly rush into fixing people. What do I mean by fixing people? They overlook so many vital components and begin to use prayer and preaching as a tool to fix people. And this, in turn, they do not solve the problem for them. The people live as spiritual care providers worse than they were before. So literally, I am going to be blending with Dr. Abuga Victor and my student doctor and Presido for us to really explore, to look at how we can synchronize issues about STDs, suicidal issues, mental issues, how we can manage depression, and how we can help our young ones. It is also emphatical that a lot of our youth, let me say adolescents, perhaps let me say teens, are struggling with identity problems. And these identity problems could relate to egocentric behaviors, which sometimes could lead our youth to go wayward. We have so many other factors that could result to this. And I know as we delve so deep into our questions and answers, perhaps our discussions, we will learn so much and be better ready as spiritual care providers, or perhaps people who are responsible for the youth and adults, to really bring them up and to solve their common health issues. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Chaplain Ishmael. And thank you, Dr. Victor, as well. Thank you for your initial comments. Now we will move on to the next session. And this next session is basically about their perspective on these 5 major health issues that young people encounter. Dr. Victor will kindly begin for us.
All right. Thank you once again for the opportunity. I'm going to start with injury and violence, the most common health issues young adults face. Um, when we look at our society as it is now, there are many people who are having disabilities. Mostly, what we see these people do is their lives become, they are kind of depend on people for their livelihood. Those who even are in well-to-do families are able to continue their education because of the fact that they are having good families that can take care of them. But most of the time, because of injuries or violence, people end up whether on the streets or on the roads selling and then doing some minor jobs just to be able to survive in this country that we live in. Now, the issue with injury and violence, when we look at the young adults, is that it is mostly due to the fact that most people are not really abreast with some of the things that they are supposed to know. Let's say, for example, the young adults are mostly they are into taking risks. They want to get to know or get to experience new things. They want to the things that they see on television. They want to try them. Over speeding, for instance, is one of the things that is leading to most of our trauma issues or the injury that we're having on our hospitals, especially when you go to some places that motorbikes are really common. You realize that most of the people that come into our emergencies, they come with head trauma from motorbike accidents because they are not using helmets. And this is mostly due to the fact that the young adults or the youth, like to put it, the youth see themselves as they are untouchable. Like they see people dying, who stays around, but they see themselves as they are untouchable. They cannot also get involved in this kind of accidents or their lives, or they can't end up as disabled and then somehow be taken out of the society. But today, I want you all to understand that these things are actually affecting the society. People who could have become better people in the society to help us are being turned into disabled who are kind of on the streets. Now, we also have those who drive without license on our roads. Are having a lot of car accidents because of people who don't have license and then using the roads. They don't really understand most of the road signs. They use the roads and they end up in our hospitals. We are not really worried about the politics of the whole thing. We are worried about the health implications when these people come to the facility. They come with either the family will have to deal with someone who cannot walk again, or a young adult who is paralyzed from head to toe. We always advise. And also the next thing that we are going to look at is mental health. In our society, as we stand now, mental health is one of the most important things. When you go to our mental institution, there are a lot of people there because of what we call broken heart. People are having a lot of depressions. Some are they have been hospitalized for a very long time because of depression and from broken hearts, premature falling in love and all those things. In our even in primary school, JHS, people start that they have found their love, and it is causing a lot of problems for the health system. People we now have a lot of people who are trying to try to impress and they end up, feeling depressed at the end of the day, because you will never be able to impress the society. You have to either get richer or get some means that you cannot afford at that age, because you are now starting your life. People they look at other people's lives and they want to be like them. It will lead you to depression, because if you don't get the things that you want and you are not really um working hard to get them, the next thing you get is depression, and from depression you are getting to suicide. You think about, end it, let me end it today and be free. And the issue will now be the health system will be stressed. A lot of people will be in our mental institutions with depression and then suicide. Some have locked-in syndrome. They can't even communicate with this world now. They are just confused. And all this is from the fact that our mental health issues are not being tackled well. People are not being educated about mental health at their very tender age when they are growing up. And I think at this, we use this platform to also educate people on that, how to know that they are depressed, how to tackle these issues when they come up, so that they don't end up um, committing suicide or doing any harm to themselves or the people around them. Then sexually transmitted infections. These are infections that are contracted through sex. So it could be oral sex, it could be the normal sex we know, and then it could be any form of sex. If that infection or that disease is transmitted through that process, then it's called sexually transmitted infection or sexually transmitted disease. We know examples like HIV, syphilis, chlamydia, gonorrhea, and the like. Now, Hep B has also been classified as sexually transmitted infection, because you can get it through bodily fluids, and as we know, through sex, bodily fluids are exchanged. So um, Hep B is also NFC are also now part of the classification. We know that it might look like there are some measures that have been put in place to prevent these infections, but then it's still on the increase. When you go to certain parts of our country, taking Ghana for example, is really increasing. The rate at which people are getting sexually transmitted diseases is really increasing, and the danger is that people do not people are not able to know when they have the infection. They keep transmitting it. Symptoms don't come immediately. You get the infection. Some 6 months later, HIV, for instance, it takes a while before symptoms start to show. So it has become a problem. People keep transmitting these diseases around, and they have long-term implications. Those that are not even deadly. Let's take gonorrhea and co. That are not deadly. They will not kill you. They will cause a lot of problems. Some fertility issues, and syphilis can even lead to brain problems. You can have psychological, or it can give you it can leave certain phases in your brain that can have a problem with your spine and other issues later on in life. So they are not just infections that you can just get and then move on. It's not only HIV that is very dangerous. All of them are dangerous, and we have to protect, especially the youth, from these things. Now, alcohol and then drugs. At a point in time, I know when we say alcohol is just inside, they call something hydrocarbon. And these hydrocarbons, they are part of the organic substances that are mostly alcohol. We have various types, but today we want to talk about a toxic alcohol. Ethanol is one of them. And we have propyl ethane, and then methanol. They are all types of alcohol. But today we're going to talk about ethanol, because that's the one that is common on our markets. And it is gotten from the fermentation of sugars and then cereals like rice and then barley and then those stuff, malt and cocoa. And this substance, we have sugars, not natural sugars like glucose, fructose, and sucrose. In DHS and those, we learned about those sugars. Now, when this is broken down or fermented, it becomes toxic. The toxic alcohol that we're talking about, it becomes toxic to the extent that it has effects on almost all parts of the body, due to the fact that it is absorbed directly into the system at a very fast rate. When someone takes alcohol, within 60 to 20 to 60 minutes, the body absorbs this alcohol. And at that rate, it is absorbed in the stomach. So it has an effect on the stomach walls itself. So the patient can present with ulcer and all that stuff. This is just some of the effects of alcohol. You can have hypertension later on. You can even have liver cirrhosis, which is deadly. So alcohol in itself is really dangerous, and then that's not the only drug that we have a problem with. We have the opioids, tramadol and co, which is causing a lot of psychological problems or mental. It's causing a lot of issues for those in the mental health cycle. Or people who take these drugs, they depress the CNS functions. They take them so that they become so elevated or stimulated, so they will do whatever they want. But then their CNS functions are depressed, and someone with a depressed CNS function is as dangerous as anyone can be. They do things without even knowing. They make decisions that they shouldn't have made, and then lead to endangering of themselves and then other people around them. So when we get into the questions and answers, we'll be able to look at these things and then take cues from them. Now, the last part I'm going to talk about is nutrition and physical activity. As I already said, nutrition, the best medicine that any individual can have is the last two parts that we are going to talk about: nutrition and physical activity. If you are going to have a good mental health, then you have to have a good nutrition and exercise. If you are going to have what call it, stop taking toxics and stuff, then it means you are having a good nutrition. You are eating well. You are exercising. So it is a very good foundation for healthy living. A very good foundation for someone who is growing, that is the youth or the adolescents, for their mental development, their brain development, for them to be able to make great decisions to become better people in the future. They need to eat well. Eating well means balanced diet that contains all the nutrients in their right proportions: carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, water, and all the nutrients that are needed. You have to get all your nutrients in one diet as much as possible. There are some minerals that are important for the body's functions. There are some carbohydrates that are needed in the body's function, proteins. All these food groups must be included in your diet as much as possible. Now, in Ghana, we have the problem of poverty, so it's difficult to actually advise people on nutrition. But when you talk about nutrition, they will tell you they don't have the money to buy the food you're talking about. But I mean, there are, as much as we are looking at the monetary aspect, let us also look at the fact that in the olden days, those who used to go to the farm, they used to get all these nutrients from the simple things that were available to them. You don't have to eat what other people are eating. You just have to find the things around you that you can actually tap your nutrients from. Foods like even gari and beans. Gari and beans plus plantain, ripe plantain is a balanced diet. If that is the diet you can afford at any point in time, that's what you can afford to eat. Try and take it. You don't have to be eating fried rice and all those stuff before you realize you are taking a balanced diet. And those foods are refined foods, don't really give us anything. We need the good nutrition. And also the taking of, looking at some of the causes of cancer, we realize that even fresh meat or raw meat in itself can even lead to some types of cancer, mostly the colon cancers. And you look at the importance of good nutrition to the individual if you want to grow old. Then you also be thinking about physical activity, exercises. We have aerobic and anaerobic exercises, and they all have their functions. The aerobic exercises are the ones like running, swimming. I mean, you need to bring in oxygen and then out. You are taking in oxygen and bringing out what call it, carbon dioxide. That is aerobics. Now the anaerobics are those who go to the gym or trying to increase their muscles and all that stuff. So those ones have nothing to do with oxygen inhalation and then breathing cycles and all that. You have to do with muscle relaxation and then blood pumping comes from the blood and all that. So those are the anaerobic ones, and they are all important for the proper functioning of the body systems. The body is put into systems so that the human being can function effectively, so that we can be able to live healthy lives. Yeah. With this, I will come to the end of my little talks on all the topics, and I hope I'll be able to touch on maybe everything. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Victor Abuka. Chaplain Visual, kindly give us your perspective on.
All right. Thank you so much, Presido and Doctor, for this insight. I think Dr. Victor has really digested the topic under discussion. Now, most of these terms are technical, and it is related to and common to what we usually see in our hospitals. So I would want to just, as I said from the beginning, my job really is to look at the role spiritual care providers really are engaging, because um, most often there are two places that people who are facing these things may end up in, either with spiritual care providers, or perhaps, let me say, counselors, or the or to go to the hospital sometimes as the last resort, as may be. But really, these are important issues that we do not have to even treat until someone is hospitalized or a client is brought to you really demoralized to the extent that perhaps further aspects like psychotherapy and other activities should rather be able to help such people. And more importantly, some of these things we are doing is to help our youth to really be able to be involved in the preventive act rather than resort to the last resort, which eventually sometimes may lead to what psychologically we may term as crisis. As soon as there's a crisis, then it means that there is tension. So our duty is to really do what we can to avoid the presence and essence of crisis. I think the first issue doctor spoke on has to do with injuries and obviously associated to violence. As we said from the beginning, the youth, or perhaps let me say teens, at a point as they are struggling to identify who they are, it really pushed them to be involved in so many things. And psychologically, if they do not meet or they don't have the right type of mentorship to be able to groom them, that is parents and the school environment and others, eventually these children either grow up to be bullies or eventually they um, have low self-esteem. That is, they don't have the type of personality that really will support them. And if you notice, a lot of if you look at DCM-5, which actually is a document for, I think, medicine and psychiatrists and psychologists, we get to know that so many people are struggling with mental health issues. And these mental health issues actually ruining, we have personality disorders, we have anxiety disorders and depression disorders, really eating so deep. Sometimes we may feel that these are just normal activities, but they eat so deep into the individual life, perhaps family life and society. For example, Doc was talking of violence and injuries. You see, for violence and injuries to be experienced at its epitome, either in the school or even on the road in the form of accident or fighting and street gangs and all those things, then it should have started from somewhere. And that somewhere is right at the home. See, violence in the home, domestic violence, men beating their wives, and husbands beating their wives, and so on and so forth. These have psychological implications for the child up to when the child grows. And it does not just affect only the child, but the family and society at large. So, right from the onset, even as a child, the parent has a primary duty to shaping their children so that children will not face a lot of anxiety disorders or personality disorders that eventually may either ruin them or predispose them to become harmful. For example, when you take, apart from even the home, in those days, our schools, the SHS and others, a lot of activities that are related to bullying, or perhaps let me even say teachers bullying students and all that in the name of teaching, really the learning atmosphere has to be a loving and one that helps our youth to be able to gather knowledge in comfort and to be able to express themselves and to be able to demonstrate their self-esteem in all aspects of life. And for that matter, violence needs to be checked. You see, for us, that is why our work as spiritual care providers, as chaplains, as pastors, perhaps as counselors, or counseling units in schools, very important to help shape these children so that they will find someone to talk to. You see, the problem in Africa is that when we are faced with problems, we don't get someone to talk to. We hold on to it. That thing eats so deep into us, then eventually it destroys us and those we love. And even sometimes in Africa, it becomes a problem. To even get the right person to talk to is a problem. Most of our pastors are not well resourced to provide counseling services, or perhaps to even give referral, or to give the actual and needed service to their clients, perhaps parishioners, or if you like, their students, or what their client, whatever their client may be. So in effect, our pastors and some people who are giving spiritual care provision become even more harmful. You see, and here perhaps I want to advocate that at least in addition to just being pastors and studying your theology, and sometimes some of us even branding, some people say they are chaplains, well, not really trained actually. They need special training to be able to help our youth and to give proper support to the system, either than rather destroying the system, fixing problems and using their ego to solve problems, or scripture perhaps to solve problems. For example, if you take a mental issue like suicide, there are common myths about suicide. Perhaps let me say assumptions. Some people think that Christians do not have suicidal ideations, or perhaps if you pray harder, the problem you are encountering to be able to resolve. Some people also think that those who have suicidal ideations perhaps should be connected to them because the people want attention, or because they want to avenge or do something. Some mere concepts about suicide. I think when you read Karen Mason, she provides these lessons on some of these ideas some of us really have. And you will get to know that it is really common. Anyone could be predisposed to suicidal ideations. It is not just left to a particular group of people. Yes, of course, when you go to Japan, when you go to other places, suicide could be a religious duty and other activities. But the everyday life could predispose some people to suicidal ideation. And it will surprise you that at the end of the day, you are working with someone, the person talks normal, or when the person calls back to the bedroom or to a solitude place, that is when the reality really hits the person. And sometimes what you hear is the person has killed himself. This would happen to you, it would happen to me. But if we have the right, if we have created the right type of environment, then suicidal ideations, for example, could be kept. In short, I would want to say, and to agree with what Dr. Victor was saying, a lot of us really are faced with so many mental health issues. Primary of them, depression. I think depression is the common one that most people face. And the center of mental health issues, you cannot leave depression out of it. Well, my intake is that doctor has said so many things related to the topic, and he has really digested and explained what the context is thereof, and what it means to be obese, to be involved in violence, or suicidal ideations, or to the act of suicide, mental health issues, exercise, and all that. I want to say that perhaps our approach here is to look at giving a holistic approach to solving this problem. Whereas we are looking at the act and what it is, then we look at how we'll be able to resolve it holistically. That is from the physical, mental, social, and perhaps, or what we are seeking to do now, the spiritual aspect. So, my doctor student, Mr. Jiman, I am hoping that our viewers and listeners will be able to take so much from this. At the end of the day, it's our hope that we really have the right information and the right tools to help those who are in need and suffering. I'm done.
All right, thank you very much. Dr. Victor, this question is particularly directed to you. We see that motor vehicle accidents is one of the causes of teen death in our country. What are the contributing factors to this canker? And then how can we prevent these accidents from happening? Especially for us in Tamale, we see a lot of these happening. And so what is your view or what is your take on this?
So motor vehicle accidents mostly is, as I said, most of these topics we will be linking them up with each other. One of the leading causes of motor vehicle accidents in our country now is drug abuse. Most people are on they take hard drugs and they get on the roads. That is one of the reasons. Then secondly, it has to do with people who are not skilled, mostly the teens, because of one way or the other. Some take on to the streets without proper skills needed for driving, and they end up in various motor vehicle accidents. So basically, these are the one of the two ways, and how we can help prevent these problems is firstly the drug abuse issue. Um, we need to um, encourage the institutions that are set aside to help with the what call it, advising the youth on the dangers of drug abuse or the dangers of using illicit drugs like the cocaine, the weed, and then alcohol. Most of the youth of today um, don't really understand the effects of these what call it, these drugs that they take. The fact that they've not actually been exposed to any what call it, advice from the medical perspective or from the biblical perspective. They've not really had that encounter. Most people that we see on the streets have not really had the opportunity to be talked to or for them to be for them to understand the effects of these drugs when they take them. So mostly, as I said initially about the drugs, they are mostly CNS depressants. They depress your CNS. So one, your eyesight is blurred. You are not able to make decisions. So when you are on the road, where you are not supposed to make a curve, you might make a curve. Where you are supposed to stop, you might move on. Where you are supposed to go probably 50 kilometers, you might be going 60 or 70 kilometers, even 100. So it all has to do with mostly the drugs that we take. And now about the skill, we have to make sure that we encourage, we help the police in arresting people who are having fake licenses, and also make sure that people go to the driving schools to learn how to drive the right way, so that they don't become a problem for the society and themselves. They become a danger when they are on the road. So I think these are two of the reasons that lead to most of the causes of the thing deaths on our roads. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Victor. Now to our chaplain. I'd like you to address this very question for us. What are some of the contributing factors to violence? And how do you think we can prevent this violence from happening in our country? Especially in current news, we heard of Western Togoland violence here and there. What do you think can help prevent these violence from happening? And what are the factors that contribute to these violence we often behold in our land?
All right. Thank you so much, Doc, for this question. You know, basic factors that predispose us to the act of violence is what we see and what we hear. As I said from the beginning, a lot of us, sometimes environment could really predetermine to how our behavior would be. So, for example, if you are coming from an abusive home, it is most likely that if you are not careful, you will also be abusive. What really, apart from the home, other factors could be what the youth see on television. And sometimes they try to emulate and to practice these activities they see. So television and the media could be one of them, predisposing our youth to violence. So, for example, in war-torn areas, it is most likely that so many youth could become violent. Sometimes other factors could be perhaps social factors and political factors. Um, Now, for example, Ghana is in an election year, and it is most common that violence will be everywhere. And so unfortunately, it is the youth who become agents of this violence because of their energy. Remember from the beginning, I said that the youth, because of their struggle to figure out who they are, because of the identity crisis, if that is not well managed, this youth and adolescent become really energetic, and when they channel their energy and egoism into violence, you can imagine what will happen. So sometimes these political figures are people who create an environment that propel violence. So we have the home, and as I said from the beginning, for us to be able to have a violent-free, well, sometimes some of the factors we cannot really control. Not really control. Um, for example, if someone is is manic, it's really an issue. Sometimes he doesn't even um, know what he's doing, and such a person could become violent. In essence, that is what's the name? A mental health issue. That is the extreme mental health disorders, like schizophrenia, or let me say, bipolar one and bipolar two. These people, when they are violent, perhaps is because they have lost touch with reality. Sometimes, let me say that even sometimes some biological factors could even predispose some people to violence. So, in essence, we just need to, number one, self awareness, to create awareness on the issue of violence, and to solve them from the various ranks. For example, in the home, we should be able to report domestic violence at home. In society, we should be able to report it. So all of us should become stakeholders, from the home to the community to institutions like the police, SRAJ, and other things. And if you involve in it and it becomes a legal issue, what you deserve, the punishment you deserve, should really be given to you, perhaps with love and mercy, depending on the situation. But overall, for us, we all have duties as spiritual care providers. We all have duties to educate, and to educate and to educate, to ensure that violence in our society is actually dealt with, or is dealt away, or we don't see it anymore.
All right, thank you very much, Chaplain Ishmael, for your contribution on that very question. Now, Dr. Victor, this is a very important question that I would like to ask with regards to mental health. Now, mostly it's about this suicide. Okay, suicide has been one of the leading causes of death among adolescents. Okay, what are some of the contributing factors to this canker, this suicide? And also, how do we recognize the warning signs of suicidal thoughts in the youth? When we encounter someone with suicidal thoughts, how would we know that these are the signs the person is portraying, that indeed this guy is thinking of committing suicide?
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Ajimai. First, the whole act of suicide is one thinking of killing, or one actually being able to succeed in killing him or herself. We say this, the person has committed suicide. So mostly the contributing factors can stem from the individual or itself, or the external. We have the internal factors and the external factors. So the internal factors might be the emotional state of the individual. Probably the person was looking for a promotion, so he couldn't get a promotion. So that person is down. That can lead to the person thinking about committing suicide. Or for the teens, for instance, probably an examination or pregnancy. Teenage pregnancy, for instance, can lead to a young lady thinking about suicide. Now, when we talk about the external causes, we look at factors like the individual's the society that the individual is coming from. Probably something happened, and the society have shunned or have pushed the person away. No one really cares about the person. The person went through something. Let's say um, the person had, let's say for instance, an accident. He lost both limbs. The person has been left alone. Loneliness can lead to what we call it suicide. So in that person, the individual. So looking at all these things, and sometimes the youth, um, they are sometimes, let's say, one of the main reasons that of course brings about suicidal thoughts in the youth now, that is what we call broken heart. In most of our universities, we realize that some of the students, we mostly committing suicide when you go to America, when you come to even Ghana. At the point in time, this was something that was worrying the country because of what premature relationships that people got into. They got exposed to certain emotional seats which they were not prepared for. So to an extent, some of them entered got depressed, and from depression, you don't take care, you don't get the needed help, the psychological help, the professional help. You might end up thinking about suicide, committing suicide. So, and one of these things can all stem from people not being taught things, or being people not getting better understanding of issues. So some of the signs that we can know that can tell us that someone is trying to commit suicide is if the person keeps talking about I'll kill myself, I'll kill myself. If someone keeps talking about it, then the person has a high possibility of doing it. If the person has tried it before, that person actually can do it again. If the person keeps withdrawing from people, if the person is not willing to share whatever is wrong with the person keeps things to him or herself, that is a danger sign. If the individual always seems depressed, is not willing to get any help, even if the help is being given to the person willingly, the person will reject the help. It means this person has other thoughts. And when we talk about other thoughts, we just think about suicide. That's the worst thing. We just think the person is trying to commit suicide. So these are some of the things. So if a person shows signs, or a person is showing these signs, then you must not wait a minute or a second more. You have to act. What you have to do is, if you cannot handle the person, you call someone who has knowledge in psychology. You can call a doctor, or a doctor who is specialized in mental health, to handle this patient right and then. It's not a matter of postponing, or let's see what happens later. It is what call it, an emergency. You have to call and then make sure the person gets the help he or she needs. Thank you very much.
I think that what Doc you have said is really true. You know, a lot of people are struggling with suicidal ideations, and some of the signs. I just want to add some of them. We have, for example, the person is withdrawn, and you either see the person talking about either talking or writing about uh, death, and they sometimes they say, "I'll kill myself," and we hear it and we think the person is joking, but really, what they are saying, they mean it, and if not addressed, would let these people uh, really kill themselves. So we have people who really have the ideas, and it's good we get the warning signs and be able to detect them and solve them. See, the problem is that we don't have people who can really detect it. For us in Africa, you see, in Africa in those days we had this communal kind of lifestyle where you have your uncles, everyone, your brothers, you know, everyone is connected. So even when you begin to talk about it, someone will hear and maybe address it for you. Oh, why are you talking about killing yourself? Oh, forget about it. Then at least somehow it could even solve your problem. See, but now we are withdrawing to a kind of system, just like the white people do. And that's really is dangerous. It's, well, it may have it may come with its advantages and disadvantages. But where we are now sentencing that we are, the focus is now on the self. It's now myself, my wife, my children. It is the same way when there's depression, it really hits us. And it's for us as spiritual care providers. I think that we really have to be up and doing, get closer to those we are mingling with every day, and really know how to address and create the channels for them to be able to open up, trust us, talk to us, so that we can address all together, help each other to resolve our problems, so that it will not end in suicide.
Pastor, how can I speak or help someone with these suicidal thoughts? And also, what's the best way to improve mental well-being?
All right, helping people with suicidal ideations. As Doc rightly said, in the first place, we need to be able to detect the early signs. If you're able to detect the early signs, is a plus, and it will take sometimes. Really, it's about education and knowledge. If you are with someone and the person is talking about suicide and all those things, and you see that the person is withdrawn and all that, you should begin to care about the person. We need to also build a strong family system where we care for each other. You don't just um, eat and do your private things and get up and go and all that. No, the family system must care for every unit of the family. And an example of the highest of it is where each family member is accountable to the other, and where there is open communication and friendship. That really helps in sustaining suicidal ideations. Now, one thing we need to know is that when someone talks about it, we shouldn't say it's a joke. Take it seriously. We shouldn't say, oh, he's just saying it. No, we don't know how he's feeling. When someone says, I'll kill myself, try to probe further and to be able to understand um, the person. You know, it's about feeling, it's about how we think. And sometimes depression could be so devastating. It could eat so deep into individuals. So nothing should be taken slightly. And I think my counsel will first and foremost go to the youth. Anytime you feel something is overwhelming, something is putting so much burden on you, and you feel that you cannot control it, find the right person to talk to. Who is the right person? Sometimes the right person, that pastors could be the right person. But I tell you, in Africa, it is not true. A lot of pastors and spiritual care providers most often don't really know their duties. And perhaps I think it's a challenge that spiritual care providers begin to learn. But the focus here is that find someone to what? To talk to. That person could be your pastor. Good. If your pastor cannot help you, he will what? Refer you to another person, either a counselor or a psychologist or a psychotherapy and all that. So we really need to gather a lot of knowledge on it, and we need to be deliberate about it, especially in Africa. We need to be deliberate about it. It only hits us when we hear that someone has died and it was supposedly a suicide. Then we become serious. Then from there we forget of it. We need to be serious, and all emergency lines need to be activated so that if someone has those ideas, the person, even if the person cannot trust someone closer by, could easily call a helpline to be able to help. I'm hoping that one day maybe Ghana will get there where we have systems that quick response systems that will help address suicidal ideations. For example, in America and other places, for example, in the profession of chaplaincy, or perhaps a counselor, if someone has attempted suicide and you keep it to yourself, it has consequences. You have something we call mandatory reporting. When someone has attempted or even has suicidal ideations, well, for ideations, it could be managed through empathetic listening, listening actively, perhaps as a therapy, or using logotherapy, the act of speech and listening, could be avenues to help such people. So the whole idea is that, my dear, you talk about it. If you are not getting the right person to talk to, just go. Now every school has a counseling unit, and there's a professional there who can help you. If you can't get a professional, go to the hospital. Every hospital has a psychiatric unit, and they'll be able to help you in your mental health issues, or approach your chaplain or your pastor. These people could have the right tools to help you. So let's take every suicidal issue seriously and let's address it.
Okay, thank you very much, Chaplain Ishmael. Let's take every suicidal issue important because it is very key and can lead to so many dangers. To be with, I hope you are enjoying this very discussion with our doctor and our chaplain, our professional chaplain indeed. And we are really grateful to have these two wonderful men with us to guide us through these important health issues that young men as us we face along the way. Now, I'd like to pose this question to Dr. Victor Abuga. It is about sexually transmitted infections. What is it about? And can you give us some of the examples? And how does one contract this very infection? And what are the signs and symptoms that a person will portray when he contracts this infection? I know there are a lot of questions in one. Kindly address it for us in some few minutes.
All right. I think when I was addressing the topics, I talked about sexually transmitted diseases, and I gave examples. And I also talked about how to contract them. But I'll just brush over them so that we move on. So sexually transmitted infections or diseases are infections that are causing to sex. Sex, we have oral sex, the traditional sex that we know. We have anal sex. So if you contract a disease or an infection through through sex, then it is called sexually transmitted. And then we have examples of sexually transmitted disease. The commonest one that we know is HIV/AIDS. And we have syphilis, we have chlamydia, we have gonorrhea, we have as I said, we can also have Hep B and Hep C as sexually transmitted disease due to the fact that they can be transmitted through sex or through the exchange of bodily fluids. And we get these infections through sex. So when a man and a woman meet, or a man and a man, or a woman and a woman meet, and they exchange fluids through sex, sexual intercourse, then these infections can be transmitted. For instance, mostly we they give condoms, and we have various what we call them barrier contraceptives. They actually prevent the transmission of some of the infections. They are not 100%, but they prevent to an extent, to a percentage. When we look at HPV, which also transmitted, some experiments have shown that it's transmitted through sex, which actually is a precursor for cervical cancer, one of the deadly cancers in women. It's also transmitted through sex, and HPV actually cannot be prevented by wearing condom, because when the testicles of the man touches the perineum of the woman, or the like touches the woman's sex, the woman can still get the HPV virus, which can also lead to the cervical cancer. So with that one, condom cannot actually prevent that one. So that one, the best way to prevent it is through abstinence. And the signs and symptoms mostly is either for the women, you get vaginal discharge, depending on the type of infection it is. For let's say gonorrhea, mostly we get a yellowish discharge. For chlamydia and all that stuff, we might have whitish discharge. And for HIV and AIDS, you can have various constitutional symptoms like weight loss, cough, even things that have nothing to do with the the sexual reproductive system. So all these diseases, they have their own type of their own symptoms and signs. So the best way to be able to diagnose these things is to actually test for them and shouldn't just be just see because of this person have that. It's best to always test. And because we cannot always go around with our test kits, we always advise that because you don't know the status of an individual, you have to be careful. The best way is to abstain, to be able to prevent yourself from being exposed to these these diseases. And because we know that we know the way or the means of transmission of these infections, we advise that if you abstain, then you know that you are safe. But if you don't abstain, then there's a percentage. There are statistical data that show that you can get these infections. So the best way that we are, I know Pastor also talk about it, but the best way to prevent these infections is abstinence. And the abstinence is the best way to do about. But if you cannot abstain, then you have to use barrier contraceptions like condoms. We have vaginal caps or cervical caps. We have female and then the male condoms that you all know about, and other forms of barrier contraceptions that you can use. So these are also ways to prevent one from getting these infections. But I tell you, none of the infections is minor. We don't say that infection is minor, but infections will come. There will be complications that normally come with them. It can prevent you from giving having the ability to give birth later in life if you want to deliver. Some of them can cause infertility, and some people don't you can even get cancer. I talk about cervical cancer, and you can even have the issue of you transmitting it to other people. I mean, you might get the HIV through sex and transmit it to other people through other means, not sex. You can get the Hep B, Hep C through sex and transmit it to other people through other means. So you see the dangers of these things, especially youth. Mostly they are not well abreast with these infections. So the best way that we can do to help them is to educate them, explain to them the dangers of these infections. That is not only about the management, the treatment, but what happens after the treatment is what we are worried about. And I know and trust that as we are learning from this, we will take necessary measures to help ourselves. As the youth that we are growing up, if you want to even have fun, the best way to abstain. But if you still want to have fun, use condoms.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Victor. Chaplain, would you like to have a bite on this?
Ah, yes. So, a lot of youth are found wanting with regards to this. And I always say that it's good to get someone to talk to. All hope is not lost sometimes, especially if you have made the mistakes. Some people don't even know the consequences of their actions. And eventually, let's say, as Dr. Abugai is suggesting, some people are having these infections. But the question is that uh, how do we because these are common things that happen, and a lot of youth, some have these infections. I just want to say that if you have them, that is not the end of life. Get someone to talk to. If it is even HIV/AIDS, remember that there are solutions. Having a sexually transmitted disease does not mean that life ends there. No. Let's get our loins. Let's get the right type of advice. Let's get the right people to talk to. Let's be courageous. Let's be positive. And as we are being positive, let's take the right steps to either cure ourselves. I think, there are so many, sometimes there are treatments and cure to this. But if you keep it to yourself, for example, like gonorrhea, if it is detected early, it can be solved. Even HIV/AIDS. Well, let me not commit myself here so much because I don't know who is listening to me. But let's make sure we always get someone to talk to, and that will help us. Here we are not trying to, sometimes there's a lot of stigma associated with sexually transmitted diseases. Yes, uh, people may put so many injunctions and eyebrows, but don't let that really deter you. Be courageous, get a counselor, get a chaplain, get your pastor, get someone you can trust and talk to the person. And it should be a continual process. And I think that we should be able to help one another come out of our difficulties. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Pastor. Dr. Victor, are you around?
Yeah, I'm around.
All right. Now we are going to delve a little bit into alcohol and drugs. I know some of my viewers are eager to know about alcohol and drugs, the effects and all that. And so I would like to ask Dr. Victor or inquire from him, what is classified as an alcohol and what are its constituents? Now, is there a quantity you must consume to experience the effects of alcohol?
All right, thank you very much. Before I touch on that, I would like to add a little to the sexually transmitted infections. When you are tested for any sexually transmitted infection, because it's gotten through sex, it is advisable to bring your partner along so that both of you be treated. So I want our youth to know that it is not a shame that you get a sexually transmitted infection. If you get it, make sure that you are tested. And when you test and you are positive, make sure you bring your partner. And then if the partner also have partners, they should bring everybody so that they will all be able to get treated to prevent the chain from continuing. All right. So what is classified as an alcohol? So as I said, an alcohol is a hydrocarbon. I'm going to science more some chemistry. Hydro is an hydrocarbon. Hydrocarbon means it is a chemical that is made up of some carbons and hydrogen atoms. So what happens is there is fermentation of sugars and cereals like rice, barley, malt, and those stuff. When these ferment, we get this substance from it, and we have toxic and non-toxic alcohol. And then the toxic alcohol is what we're going to look at into details. The toxic alcohol, we have ethanol that we all know, the apeteshi, or the ones they add to minerals, most of the alcoholic drinks that we know of. And then we have propyl ethanol, we have methanol. They are all forms of alcohol, but they are toxic. Now, this alcohol, when taken into the body, um, we have something called the absorption rate, and when depending on the quantity that one needs to take before the person will become start to experience the effects depend on whether the person is a chronic alcoholic or the person is just starting to take alcohol like just the person is not alcoholic, just an acute or a casual alcoholic, doesn't take alcohol every day. So for someone who takes alcohol almost every day, the person needs a lot of alcohol, as in it needs to take about like a large amount of the alcoholic drink for the person to start experiencing the effects. But for someone who has not taken alcohol before, the person might take just a little alcohol and the person might have the effects due to something we call dependence. The person has been taking the thing for long, so the system has gotten used to the alcoholic drink. So we don't have a specific amount that you have to take. It depends on the individual. Yes. So for in medicine, we actually put alcoholic drinks into units. So depending on the units that you take, we can now say whether you are an alcoholic or you are just a casual drinker. So for women, mostly when a woman takes about 10 units of alcohol in a week, that woman might be termed as an alcoholic. If a man takes 40 units in a week, that woman might be termed as an alcoholic. So anyone who takes less than these units is not classified as an alcoholic, but then just a casual drinker. And so basically, that's it for those two questions that I might ask about the classifications and then the quantity that one must consume to experience the effects of alcohol. So the effect of alcohol, as we know, alcohol is a CNS depressor. So it depresses CNS. So the person becomes blurred, become dizzy, is not able to make them actually easily becomes at the end of the day the person becomes sober. He will not be able to remember the things he or she has said because his CNS processes have all been depressed. So that is the effect that mostly alcohol drinks bring. Even the person's walking becomes temporary because the CNS, central nervous system, it has to do with the brain and then the spinal cord. So the person's ability to walk, the person's ability to talk, the person will be talking in slurred speech. You cannot be able to hear the person well. The person is blurred. The person cannot even write. The person cannot do a lot of things that normally the person could do if the brain was not depressed by the alcoholic drink. So those are some of the effects of the alcohol. Yeah. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Victor. I'm Chaplin. You know that most of these alcoholics, it gets to a point that they become so addicted. Is there any spiritual correlation, and how can they be released from this addiction after so many years of drinking?
All right. Thank you so much. You know, when Doc was mentioning the medical terms, one thing that was reoccurring to me is what he just said: addiction. Regardless of the quantity you take it has the propensity or the tendency to let you be addictive. You know, little drops of water makes a mighty ocean, and that is how alcohol is, the addictive component. And now we don't need to really get there. Sometimes I really wonder whether abstinence, well, it's not a wonder, but why we cannot really see. But as I said, we have a lot of influences that really push us to really be engaged in this alcoholic issues. Now, you see, for someone to be battling with an addiction, you need the right place to go to. Sometimes it depends on the level of addiction. Some people have some level of control. Some people don't have any level of control at all, and that becomes difficult. I think the basic and better way to help with the issue of alcoholism, I think I'll give two issues. Some use herbal to do that. I don't know how they do it, but they give certain things to the alcoholics, make it, and it helps them. It has helped some people. Some through counseling, but a behavior that is addictive really needs time to resolve. And the best way to resolve alcoholic issues or people who have become alcoholic or perhaps are addicted is a rehabilitation program or perhaps a rehabilitation center where they will address it holistically. They'll look at the psychological, they'll look at the social aspect of your healing process, they will look at the physical aspect, and they will help you. For example, in such centers or programs, they will try to look at having a cycle of friendship. Perhaps, most often alcoholics, they move in groups. They go to sit in groups and drink. So these rehabilitation centers will really shape you entirely. And the focus is to help so that you have a new type of lifestyle devoid of the old things and the old practices. So basically, the best way to deal with addictions in alcoholism, one is the individual knowing that no, I want to stop drinking alcohol. I think that is the first step. And when the individual recognizes that, then the person will now need to get to the right tools or the right resources, like doctors, like counselors, like psychotherapy, or perhaps rehabilitation centers and programs that will help. It's not just easy to say that stop associating with friends who are drinking, stop doing that, stop doing that. No, you need to be deliberate about that. You need to accept that vulnerability. You need to know that no, I can't do it on my own. I need people or I need someone to help me. Thank you, Doc.
All right. Thank you very much, Chaplain. Now we are going to move on to our very last series of questions, which is under nutrition and physical activity. Dr. Victor, please can you give us the medical definition of obesity and what are the health consequences of obesity, as well as the factors that are associated with weight gain in the youth nowadays?
All right. Thank you very much. Before I touch on that, I'll also like to talk about the effect of drugs or alcohol on the systems. It has effect on the lungs, the hearts, the brain, the blood vessels. But every body, most of the organs, it has effects on them. So it can lead to hypertension, even diabetes, and heart attacks, cardiomyopathies, which is mostly dilated hearts or heart failure. So it tells us that alcohol can lead to early death. It can lead you to your death if we don't try and then cut down on it. And there are medications that can also help with the addiction. We have disulfiram, which is given to patients when they are addicted to alcohol. It can help with the addiction, but it comes with a lot of the patient vomits when the patient takes alcohol. That's when you take disulfiram and you take alcohol, you vomit a lot. So with time, the patient might not want to take the alcohol again. So medically, there are measures and then that they take at the rehabilitation centers to help with those who are addicted. Now, the medical definition of obesity. So obesity, we can define it with the body mass index, that's BMI, or we can use the the total body fat to define it. So for the BMI from 25 to 29.9 is seen as overweight. And then from the 30 to 39.9 is seen as morbid obesity. Then from 40 onwards is obesity. So these are weight over height squared. So we take the person's weight and we divide it by the person's height and we square it and we get these measures and we use this to put them in various stages. Now we also have the patient's total body fat, and that one we have for women we have 25 percent of total body. Sorry, for men 25% of total body fat. If you have greater than 25% of total body fat, sorry, then you are obese. Then for men, for women, it is 30 and above. So sorry, 35 and above. So mostly the range is between 30 to 35 for women, because normally women have more fat as compared to men. So that's why BS is more higher than men. Men is 25 percent or increase or greater than 25% of total body fat, and that of women is 35% or greater than 35% of total body fat. We define it as obese, and they have a lot of health consequences. For someone with who is obese, the patient may have the person may come with heart problems. So you can have coronary heart diseases, that is buildup of lipids in the patient's blood vessels, which can lead to heart failure. And then the patient can also have cardiomyopathies, that is dilated heart, that can lead to heart failure. So for using a lot of big medical terms. So the patient can also have strokes because of the obesity. Patient can have hypertension. Patient is also exposed or is at risk of diabetes, type 2 diabetes. The fat can lead to the dampening of the receptors for the insulin. The patient may produce insulin fine, but then the receptors are dampened at the periphery, so it will not be used, and that patient will suffer from diabetes. That's type 2 diabetes. Patient is at risk of cancers like endometrial cancers. That's cancer of the womb or cancer of the uterus. And then patient can have breast cancer. Patient can be exposed to even colon cancer and then ovarian cancer. Patient can also be exposed to even lung cancer. So every type of cancer, because of the obesity, patient stands a risk of having these. So and we call something dyslipidemia. That is abnormal fat deposition or fat diseases. The fat that you are consuming, the body is unable to store them well. So these can be stored in your blood vessels and lead to peripheral vascular diseases. I mean, these are blood fat is blocking your blood vessels. That can lead to either deep vein thrombosis or deep vein disease, and then it can also lead to strokes if it happens in the brain. It can lead to ischemic strokes. So these are some of the effects of obesity on the individual. So we see how dangerous it is, and then it can also lead to fatty liver disease. So which can later on lead to chronic liver disease. So it can actually lead to liver cirrhosis. So fat in the a lot of fat or obesity is a danger sign and should be taken with caution and should be handled effectively. So it says some of the factors associated with weight gain in the youth. Mostly the youth, because one of the factors that we can actually look at is the most of the youth now are into hormonal therapy. Some of them start taking hormonal therapy at the very tender age. The ladies, sorry to say, the ladies, they take them for because of they are exposed to sex at a very early age. They are exposed to taking of hormonal therapy, and this hormonal therapy normally have side effects of weight gain. And also some of the foods that we eat on the markets, they put a lot of chemicals into them. these chemicals, they convert most of the natural lipids into fats. There's certain fats that are not able to be broken down by the body systems, so they are stored in the various parts of the body as fats. And these are some of the effects. Some of the drinks, alcoholic drinks on the markets now, they all have these kind of fats. They are supposed to be for preservatives, but then they end up being stored in the body as fats. And these are all some of the causes of obesity in the youth now, or causes of weight gain in the youth now. And one of the causes too is lack of exercise. The youth of today don't like exercising a lot, and so if you take in a lot of fatty foods, or you like taking fast food and you don't exercise, the fat will be stored in various compartments of the body and then cause lead to weight gain. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Victor. I'm Chaplain.
You're welcome.
We would like you to address this very question for us. Is exercise, is too much exercise harmful? And also, what nutritional advice will you share with us so that youth of today will be able to stay healthy and they will not gain much weight, which we know predisposes to so many diseases?
All right, thank you so much, my president and student doc. I was thinking you would have asked Doc this question, but since Doc have addressed a part of it in his introductory speech, I think Chaplain will also have a basis to give some, let me say to say something, but I wouldn't want to speak as an expert on this, but I'll say something and maybe our doctor will be able to add his perspective on that. Really, for sure, too much of everything is bad, as was said from the beginning. You need to know the type of exercises to even do and what not to do. But for the youth in perspective, I think that our youth can be engaged in almost every type of exercise. Sometimes even health would determine the type of exercise you should do. If you have, let's say, asthma, if you have respiratory issues and other health conditions, they may not allow you to do certain types of exercises. So as important it may be, whoever you may be, try to approach and to know the type of exercise to do. There was someone who wanted to do exercise with these machines. These days, you see our youth going to gym to have, the men want to have the right type of body to be able to pull the young ladies, because the young ladies want guys who are really built well, and eventually some of them get engaged in let me say wrong types of exercises. You are lifting this metal and you are destroying certain parts of the body, your bone chemistry, even how to lift it. You need the right person to show you what to do. So you end up destroying a lot of them destroy your spinal cord and other things. You grow up, and when you have to, after showing your body to the women and they have liked it, now you grow up and they say perform, it becomes an issue because you have destroyed your waist as a youth. So let's be careful the type of exercises we do. If we want to even go to the gym, let's make sure there are experts there to guide us. And Doc, it will surprise you to know that a lot of these are youth who are engaged in exercise, especially with the gym, especially for bodybuilding. A lot of them take drugs that will help the body to really develop well and be real, to be built well. So I just want to say that too much of everything is bad. Let's moderation in everything is okay. For the ladies, sometimes it's because they want to slim up, so that in the psychological mind they feel that guys want cute ladies. And sometimes even those who are obese, you see some guys intimidating and insulting them. And some ladies go for slimming exercises, reducing diet and all that. And I think Doc will bear with me that sometimes these are even psychological problems. We have eating disorders. Yes. And when you are predisposed to these factors, all could, whether it is either you are overeating or you are undereating. And when it becomes a psychological condition or disorder, then it means it's getting to a serious stage and we need uh, help. So let's be ourselves. I just want to say that the right type of attitude, developing our self-esteem, knowing that we really are doing the right things, that will help us. So exercising is good, but let's do it in the right way. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Chaplain. Dr. Victor, can you
Yeah.
give us some of the nutritional advice, just briefly?
Okay. All right. Before that, I want to talk about the treatment of obesity. We have pharmacological treatment. That is the advice, exercise, and then nutrition. That's the right food for the patient. And then we have the pharmacological, that's medication, depending on the stage. And we have bariatric surgery. That is surgery to take some of the fats from the patient, depending on the stage. So for those who are mildly obese, we give we can start with just the what call it the nutritional advice and then exercises. And if they are doing well with the help of family, if they are doing well, then they can get back. We want either they get the right weight or just on the mark and they are just doing well. They are able to sustain their weight at a certain level. Or give them medications. Medications can be we are managing the problem or we are giving them medications to prevent them from getting other complications that we talked about, like the diabetes, hypertension, and those things. Or we do bariatric surgery. That's for those who are having, I mean, for um, uh, BMI. We do bariatric. Okay, so nutritional advice. We should try make good use of the natural starchy foods. It's not the best. Try to eat a lot of rotaries and other cancers of the GI tract. So rotaries. When we talk about rotaries, we talk about let's take right now the raw one that to help when you take orange fruit and those it's very important. So you take all those rotaries and help it. So I would like to add to the nutritional. I'll take a lot of water if you have the opportunity. It helps to cleanse the system of any toxins through the urinary tract. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Victor. Thank you very much, Chaplain Ishmael Yakubu. Viewers, this is where we bring an end to our questions directed to our panelists. And we had a wonderful time. Personally, I did. I hope you also did. Your questions have been addressed. If your questions weren't addressed, kindly drop it in our comment box and we will address it. We'd like to take our very final comments from our special guest briefly in a minute. Chaplain will start for us.
All right. Thank you so much, Doc. It has really been a wonderful moment with you and our dear listeners. We just want to say that whatever situation you may be involved in, remember, get the right person to talk to. Don't keep things to yourself. The more you talk about it, the more you get solutions. If you talk to the wrong persons will give you wrong advice. At the end of the day, the goal and the focus of our discussions here is for us to become better persons. If you are in a condition, find the right person to talk to and be ready to help yourself. Love yourself. And together with prayer and depending on God and the relevant persons, we will be able to get better or live happily or have better, or better still, we have long lives. So remember, no condition is permanent. Remember, whatever situation you find yourself, don't give up. Man up, step up, get solutions, and be positive, and you surely find answers. Perhaps I should wrap up with Matthew chapter 11, verse 28, where God is giving an invitation to all of us to come to Him. Come to Him with your burdens, cry to Him. In addition to crying to Him, seek for help. God bless you.
As we are practicing good health tips, health laws, as we are practicing to become healthy, let's always remember that God comes first, and God teaches that the golden rule is that love your neighbor as your friend. If you love me, then keep my commandments. So these are important things that we have to remember. Let's keep God first in everything that we do, and let's remember that if we have any problem, it's better to share a problem. Problem shared is problem half solved. Let's not keep things to ourselves. If we keep things to ourselves, we end up hurting ourselves and end up getting other people around us. Always remember that there are people who care, people ready to listen to you, people who are ready to help you in whatever situation that you find yourself. And let us not see ourselves as outcasts, especially those who think they are obese, those who think their body structure is not the way they want. Or however you are, whatever you are, however you look, that is who you are. Try and do help yourself become better, but do not reject yourself and let that become a problem for you. I try to find people who can help you as you are and then help you become better, to better yourself without trying to kill yourself or end your life. For your life is precious and your life is not for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Victor, and thank you very much, Chaplain Ishmael. Viewers, this is where we bring an end to our program today about health. But before we end everything, remember that we started with a prayer. So we have to end with a prayer as well. Let's close our eyes as we pray. Our most gracious and ever-loving Father, we thank you for being with us throughout this program. We thank you for helping us to fathom the right way to live healthy and the right way to live a life that will please you. Please continue to bless our special guests, be with them, and continue to grant them knowledge and wisdom, that anytime we may call upon them, they may respond and come to share with us these health information. We ask the Lord, you be with all our viewers as well, that all that was heard, it will be put into practice, and not just be heard and just that, but rather will impact their lives, and they may live a healthy life and await your soon coming. We thank you, Lord, for an answered prayer through Christ our Lord. Amen. We will see you again next week. Remember, the same time on this very channel, Ask About Anything. Please subscribe, like, and share. When you go to YouTube, you like, you share, and you subscribe. When you come to Facebook, you like, you share, and you subscribe. Kindly do that for us. And let's meet the same time, 7 o'clock p.m. next week. God bless you all. Bye-bye.